So yeah, we made the trek to Atlanta. We were really excited for this track because the biggest worry for me is to go off the track and hit something on a fresh build. So that was totally out the door. But this track is just a big kitty litter mess to get stuck in and get drug out, which ended up happening. We didn't have the nitrous hooked up yet. We had some issues first day in practice with that. And it seemed like I had to do a lot of clutch work with the car to keep it in the RPM range to actually drift. And we made the decision with Speed Factory that we're going to hook up the nitrous now because it's going to help the response of the car. And we did, and it did exactly what we wanted. I went out and just did my first couple burnouts and donuts in the back area. It felt pretty good, but when I was popping the clutch, it decided to let just one tire fire all of a sudden. Jacked up the car, and the guys crawled underneath and found that the actual differential mounts ripped out of the subframe. And at that point, we're like, okay, I think we're done because we don't have any spare parts for that to fail. So after Atlanta, we put the nitrous in the car, we got the power band where we wanted it. Next thing was, securing the diff. So Hossport sent us some billet mounts. We actually got some extra drive shaft shop axles just in case. And we actually got another spare diff just in case. So we went into Miami thinking we're very prepared and ready for this. The car, from what we gathered, was there. And we had the highest hopes. As you go into any of these races, you have to be thinking, we're going to do the best of this round. We're going to one up our last performance. We're going to come out with something better every single time. The product has to get better because otherwise you're doing something wrong. We had like 10 or 15 phenomenal runs, and the car just kept getting better. I started dialing in more traction, and it was like 10 minutes before our last run in practice before we go to qualifying, and the car cut out in the middle of my run. We had to get towed off the track, and when we got back to the pits, we really had no idea what we were going to do. It's super frustrating because it's like you think you have one thing fixed, and then you find another issue. It's the trials and tribulations, like you said, of a new chassis, a new build, and new everything. So we finally, when we did make it to qualifying, both runs the car shut off, causing me to spin into the second turn, and that was it for the weekend. We were so excited for Seattle. I mean, it's our home track. We had the whole Speed Factory family with us. Made a big event out of it. We had so much riding on it too, because at this point we have no points in the series, and for Formula Drift now, keeping your license means you have to be top 32 at the end of the season. Knowing that, this is our home track and I don't need to really think about the course, I just need to make sure the car is 100%. Once again, another issue comes up and we're scrambling at the last minute trying to figure out a solution. And we actually found our transmission to develop a tolerance issue that caused our clutch to seize. We didn't have enough time to really assess the situation and fix it right then and there, so we had to go into qualifying. Knowing that the car is probably going to act up, we went for it anyway. We had to try. And sure enough, coming off the bank, pulling the clutch in, grabbing the e-brake, stalled the motor because the clutch wouldn't disengage. And it happened both qualifying runs, so we double zeroed once again. It's hard for me, as a driver, and building this whole thing up and then bringing it home, and it's just not there yet. Just want to say thank you right now for the opportunity I've been given to build this car, and all the sponsors on board, and Speed Factory dedicating so much time and effort into this. They saw firsthand the struggle that I've been dealing with all year. Round 6, Formula Drift, Texas Motor Speedway. The morning of top 32 qualifying. We have practice first up. As soon as qualifying was about to start, rain started coming down. It was partially dry, partially wet. So we did our first run. I was expecting that we'd put us in the middle of the pack somewhere, but I guess the judges didn't see it that way. So the mentality going into the second run of qualifying was that you know, we got to put it all out there. I'm feeling 100%. The track is now 100% dry. As soon as we started the run, the car came out of the hole super hard. The track I noticed was extra grippy. I knew right away I'm gonna have to throw this car into this corner as hard as I can and hope that the traction's there when I get there. And it did, it hooked and it went beautifully through the first corner and I was able to hold full angle through the next corner. I hit every clipping point, but on the last 10 feet of the track, the transmission popped out of gear and straightened the car out. And unfortunately, that ended our weekend. So the final round at Irwindale was my kind of Achilles heel of the year, if you say. Last year didn't fare so well for me. I had some redemption. And this track is one I've been wanting to master because it has so much history with drifting. We tapped the wall a little bit and practiced before qualifying on Friday. But you know, it felt good, I guess, to tap the wall kind of hard because it let me know that I can hit it and not kill it. And it made me a little more confident going into qualifying. So going into qualifying, our first run, I was feeling a lot better about myself and how the weekend was going so far. So second run, we got a little more aggressive with the setup. I felt more confident. This was the season finale. This is technically could be the last run of the year. So I'm gonna let it all hang out. I'm just gonna go as hard as I can. Didn't change anything on the car, really. It was just my mindset changed at that moment. I flipped a switch and said, this is it, let's go for it. Initiating higher on the bank, floored the whole track. And then leading into the inner bank and coming off the tail end of it, the transmission popped out of gear again. And that ended our season. So now that the year's over, we're back here at Speed Factory. We're gonna strip it down and fix all the issues we had this year. We're gonna have a new transmission. We're gonna have a few upgrades to the rear end. You know, this is the time where we can really sit back and digest everything that's happened and find a solution and make changes for the better. Honestly, I don't know, I think if we didn't have the support we get from the community, that we probably would have just kind of backpedaled a little bit. But they're the ones that are really pushing us to keep making this better, you know? We've been discouraged all year, but you know, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel per se. And I think as long as people still want to see the car, we're going to keep trying to bring the car.